What is up, y'all? I'm here today to talk about the reality of how hard it is for us as skateboarders to battle our tricks. I was working on the one in the last video, switch front board big spin, and as I was getting towards the end, just really being tapped out and not sure how to go about continuing to persist with feelings of doubt regarding whether or not I'm going to get it and just wanting to give up. And so I ended up filming myself talk the whole car ride back for 15 or 20 minutes afterwards about how I did do that, how I kept pushing, and ultimately how I went around to having a whole perspective flip that ended up resulting in me landing the trick just a couple tries after. So yeah, I didn't want to make the last video that much longer, so that's going to be the base topic for this video. And instead of just having that conversation myself, I wanted to cue somebody else in. A good friend of mine, Josiah, Bible study manager over at Jason Help Board Shop, somebody that I know battles tricks harder than most other people I know. And so we're going to get some insight from him on how he goes about it. And if time permits, we're going to end up getting him on camera battling a trick, and maybe me too. So we'll see how it goes. Either way, I'm excited. Without further ado.
Yeah, so when it comes to battling a trick, for me, I mean, obviously the goal is to land the trick, but there's a lot more that goes into it for me. I have the consideration of safety in my head of how can I do this safely and yet still battle it well. I also think about is my skill level at a level where I can go about this trick, or is this more like a huck and pray and just see what happens kind of thing? Because with some tricks, they're within reach of my wheelhouse, and so I'm like, okay, well, I have X, Y, and Z in order to make this trick work. I just have to put them all together. And there are other tricks that I'm like, well, I saw him do it and it didn't look that hard, and I have a pretty good understanding of how to flip my board, so I'll try it and just see what happens. Most of the time with the second ones, I try it 2 or 3 times. If I don't get close, I just give up. And that's for that safety reason of I just don't want to get broke off for a stupid reason. I mean, if there's anything skateboarders understand, is that we don't want to be off our board. So yeah, but with the others, with the wheelhouse ones, it's like a challenge, it's a game. It's like, how can I take something I'm working on that is just outside of my reach and get it within my reach? What are the things that I need to work on? So the other day I was battling switch big heel on our hip here at Help Board Shop, and I have switch front big spins, and I have switch heels, and I can pop a switch 180. And so those were the X, Y, Z components that I was like, okay, I can do all 3 parts of this trick. I just need to do them all together and figure out how it feels. And so after a while, I started to figure out where I'm supposed to put my feet in order to get that board to flip. And once I have that, then it's I just gotta persistently power through every try, regardless of how many slams I take, regardless of how many falls I take, because it's more about getting to that end. It's I can't change anything at this point. I already know I'm doing the right thing. And the mental attitude piece that comes into that, the positive mental attitude, is I have to constantly tell myself that this is something within reach that I can get to, but I also remind myself that there are others around me watching, and that the others around me watching aren't necessarily watching me to battle a trick. They're watching me because I'm in their skate session. And so if I go about setting a bad example of a mental attitude, I ruin everybody's skate session. Even if it's something just for me and everybody else is sessioning just fine, if I get too upset and too frustrated, then everybody else starts getting upset and frustrated, because that's what the energy of the room changes to. And so for me, I try to always maintain a smile. I try to always maintain a positive outlook. When I start getting focused, I take long pauses between tries to recenter myself. And after a while, if I feel like the trick's just not possible at this point, like I'm too tired or too spent, or my shirt is so sweated through that I'm making imprints of the graphic on the ground, which has happened, then I just like, okay, well, obviously this is within reach, but I'm at a point now where I'm too far gone, and I'm either going to stop skating altogether, or I'm going to move on to something simple like rolling back and forth in the mini wrap until I can regain either more confidence to go try that trick again, or just the understanding of I can land tricks again, and then I just like walk off for the night. There have been quite a few times where I've battled tricks and I've started to get frustrated, and I'm like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? I'm doing everything correct. I'm jumping just as high. I'm putting in as much work. And the reality is it's just not meant to happen at that time. And that's something I've learned, that life has timing. And so in that, I believe that if I keep working at it, eventually it will happen. It may not happen this time, but it'll definitely happen when it's supposed to happen, and that's going to feel so good. So yeah, that's kind of how I go about landing hard tricks.
So that all makes a lot of sense, and I feel like it can relate to the entirety of that. I think at least what I was noticing on this last one when I was trying to do that switch front board big spin is like you said, I have the fundamental basics of switch front board shove, and popping up to regular, like putting all those together, it's just a matter of making the mathematics work, right?
Yeah.
And so, like you were saying, like I know I can do it, but I also too hit that point of realization where like it might not be today.
Right.
It might not be today that I land it.
Right.
And something that I found that it's funny because even the people that I feel like I haven't like spoken to about this, or maybe it makes a twinkle in their eye like they haven't thought about it before, but like saying this so many times I felt resonate is like, you might just come back tomorrow and land it first try.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact you just sunk 2 hours straight into this thing,
yeah,
you might come back with a fresher perspective and a rejuvenized self where your energy levels are at their max, and maybe you even go do some other stuff that fuels you up in different ways, like you play video games and get your brain working faster,
mm-hmm.
you eat some good food and get your body more nourished,
yeah,
and then you're able to do it. And so it's definitely helpful to know that I'm not the only one that maintains that perspective, that like when I know I can do a trick, I know I can do the trick, it just might not be on my own timing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy too, sometimes when you do take those days off, when you come back, how simple it actually works. Like I remember the first time I was learning switch backside heel flips, that I thought that trick was way out of my reach. I had nollie frontside heels, and like I was like, okay, it's the same thing but backwards. But I could not make a switchback 180 work. Like it just wouldn't click. And I was like, how am I going to do this trick? Like, where is it going to come from? And I remember I just ended up like hucking and primoing and falling and just being like, okay, I'm done with this trick for the day. And then the next day I came back, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago. Next day I came back and I was doing regular backside heels, threw a couple nollie frontside heels. I was like, you know what, why not just try it or whatever. And I remember I like set up my feet for it, not believing I was going to land it, and then I flipped and caught it and turned and slipped out, and I was like, that's the closest I've ever gotten, and that was first try. And I ended up battling it for maybe 20 minutes, and I got it. And it usually takes me like an hour and a half for something brand new. Now, like, I feel like there's a lot of those tricks for me that are in my wheelhouse that I can do, that I just don't do that often, that sometimes take 20 minutes to get back. But it's that same kind of feeling of like, oh yeah, well, I know what I'm doing. Like, I know where to flick, I know where to stand, I know all this stuff. I just got to make my body do it, and it's got to remember how to do it. So yeah, that resonates with me with the switch front board big spin. Like, that's a trick that like I think for sure you have, like, no question. I've seen you do nollie big spins, I've seen you do switch big spins, like I know that's in your wheelhouse, but maybe just that day, that perspective, that particular way you were holding your body weight, there's all these different variables in skateboarding that like maybe you just need to shut off for a day and come back to it and you'll just get it first try because for whatever reason your positive mental state allows you to lock in the way you're supposed to, and you come out and you're just like, oh, well, why was I so bothered by that? You know? So
I can try to use my intellect to figure out why that remedy works so often, but I think at the end of the day, it's important to step back and acknowledge that that's probably most definitely God.
yeah,
Because the biggest thing that I realized in this last bit that, like, at this point, I don't even think it's just a matter of having to share this information with you, because I think we've had this talk.
yeah,
But just for anybody who's watching, like, oh my gosh, when I took a step back trying that trick, I was spent. I had nothing left inside of me.
mm-hmm.
It's like, it's to the point where it's not even fun anymore. It's like, if I land this trick, I don't even care.
yeah, yeah,
And I took a step back, metaphorically speaking, and I just told God straight up, I was like, I'm trying to, like, you know, have you help me here, and I'm trying to invite you in on this session, but, like, I don't know what to do here, so what can I do?
mm-hmm.
And for the first time ever, I got this answer in response, which was, give me the trick. Relinquish control of this trick over to me.
Mm-hmm.
You have so much invested in it like it's your thing. I want you to just give it up to me.
yeah,
And I thought, man, you know what? And like I said, at this point, I don't even care.
right,
Like, if you don't want me to land it today, go ahead and let me know. If you want me to take a break and come back tonight, let me know. If you want, whatever it is, like, have this. I relinquish my control. I even, like, envisioned myself, like, signing a piece of paper, giving it away to God. And as soon as I did that, I kid you not, full energy level. I kid you not, instead of taking 6 breaths, 10 breaths every try, like you said, start slowing down, I only had to take 1 or 2, and I felt like I had a full lung. And it was like, I don't know, ballparking, but just a couple tries later that I landed it. And it's like, huh, that's so funny how that works, but at the same time, it's so simple and it makes so much sense, because when you know, like, anything about God, it's like, we like to take these things and say they're mine, and can you help me deal with my stuff? But in reality, it's like, I couldn't even be on the skateboard if it weren't for you. I wouldn't even have functioning legs if it weren't for you. So this isn't even it's not even my sport, it's not even my trick.
yeah,
So you can have this. And what I'm hoping is that as we go into the park and we try to each, hopefully if we have time, but as you go in and you try to land your trick, that if you can relinquish that up to the Lord, like, my only expectation is it's going to come on His timing and it's going to be good.
yeah. Yeah, I'd be psyched if I end up getting this one, because I've tried it down a couple things, and one of those, like, maybe I'll just huck and pray moments, but this time I'm more confident in heading in to try it. But not just that, like God is, like, my whole center, my whole being, and, like, the fact that He allows me to huck as hard as I huck at 29 years of age, and, like, you know, I know just some people on camera that might not sound old, but to me it's old, man. I remember when I was 16 and I was hucking, and this is, like, over 10 years later, that I just give the glory back to Him. You know, persistence with me is just like, I am persistent until I get the trick, and that's not just in skateboarding, that's in life too. Like, I really want to be that persistent individual who's like, all right, well, how can we make this work? How can we shape this and solve this problem? How can we, you know, get God into the hearts of people who don't believe in Him? Or how can we get, you know, His word into the hands of people who can't receive it? Or whatever those problems are, I just, like, really feel that persistence, that drive, that, like, I'm going to go until I'm sweat dripping from my brim, as a friend of mine once put recently. So yeah, hoping I land it, but if I don't land it, I know I'll land it soon. So
yeah. Well, I think we might be go. Oh no, we got 20 minutes.
sweet.
Let's do it.
stopping for gas on my drive home after the session. Just wanted to follow up and highlight on some things I noticed from that session. First of which, man, I really got down to the wire. They were closing right at the land on mine, so wow. And then the other thing, the more important thing, so I think it was the very last try. It was where I noticed I was praying pretty much every time that I would go to drop in, like, God, please just let me land here. If it be your will, I'll commit, I'll roll away. And I just felt something pulling at me. I assume that's the conviction of the Holy Spirit to have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation with the Lord rather than just a couple quick comments. And so that's what I did. And you may have noticed, if I remember to edit it in when the time comes, that I was having an actual conversation that, paraphrasing, went something along the lines of Dear God, I know that this isn't a matter of trusting myself or trusting my board or trusting my abilities, trusting the trick, it's a matter of trusting you, God. And as soon as I said that, as the words were coming out of my mouth, it was clicking. So I said, if you put the board under my feet, I'll just go for it. I'll just go for it right here because I trust you. Not because I believe I can land it, but because I trust you. And I put myself and my safety into your hands. And, well, that was the one. So I think that that goes to show when it comes to trying to figure out how to land your trick, at the end of the day, just talk to God. Cue him in on the conversation and just let him take the wheel. Obviously, you still got to operate the pedals, metaphorically speaking. You still got to go try the trick, but give it over to the Lord. I encourage you to do this because I know that it works for me, as evidenced here in the clips in this video. I love you. God loves you. Goodbye.